So yeah, welcome everyone. This is Not a Gamer here with my buddy Travis from Reddicast. How you doing, man?
All right, how you doing?
Good. Thanks for joining me here. I wanted you to see the stuff I was doing before, but you haven't played Fallout until just like the past month, right?
Yes. So yeah, I was on my 30-day stream challenge, and it was my first time playing Fallout 4. So I played Fallout 3 in New Vegas, but this is the first time I've seen Fallout 4, especially since they added the building mechanics. So
She didn't like that because she was giving you a weird face there. But no, man, I'm excited for you to see this. I know you've been having fun going through the story and the game and everything. So hopefully you'll understand what I'm trying to do. Instead of just looking at it from a visual, hopefully you can give me your input about how it actually fits into the lore. You know, if it actually makes sense with everything. I try to go as detailed as I can, and I try to make everything make sense. So feel free if anything doesn't make sense. Hopefully I got everything covered, but feel free to let me know what you're thinking while you see everything. So this is obviously what's already here when you get here, and the concept basically was that after I finished the game, I explained this in a couple videos before, that I wanted to create a new game for myself, and that new game would be the rebuilding of America. So this is the first settlement I went to actually start to create that physically. And so basically going to the Abernathys and saying, hey, can we use some of your property to help build the new government? And by that, I was not kidding. And I meant something like this. So the idea here, and actually was started doing this right after I did a tour of Washington, D.C. So like I saw the state capitol, and like I saw like where all the government is. And so I wanted to create some kind of version of the same thing. So that's what this is here. This is basically the Commonwealth capital. And just like the state capitol, the idea is that all of the representatives from all the different settlements, they would show up here to do government stuff, to pass laws, to talk about economic things and finances and how to protect different settlements and negotiate with each other. And so I created a place for them to go so that they can handle that business. Plus, there's also the court, the place where people will go to, if they have any sort of trouble, and they can call government officials out in a public way. And it sounds like a small thing, but like the windows are really relevant too, because I really wanted to give the air of transparency and also try to watch out for, protecting the place at the same time. So you'll kind of see a little bit of that as we go through.
So this is going to be one of the most important buildings. 2 questions. 1, what's the security? And 2, why is it here and not Sanctuary?
Because Sanctuary also houses part of the government.
Okay.
So in Washington, you have like the White House where the president is. You have a separate place for the Capitol building and a separate place for the court, the Supreme Court.
Right.
In the old days, the Supreme Court and the Capitol building were in the same building. And so that's what you're going to see here. And then the White House and everything was in a separate place. So Sanctuary is going to have what you would call the White House. And the closest settlement to it, Abernathy Farms, is going to have the state capitol. That being said, when it comes to protection, you'll notice that you don't really see that much here. Okay, that's on purpose. It's not that there's not any protection. It's that we wanted to make sure that anyone who is here visually, you don't have to worry. I don't want people feeling like they're constantly in danger.
Right.
And so I want to have a very low presence of anything that has that. Now, what we have out and about, and we can go through this later, is you have Minutemen, especially in power armor. You have them walking around this place in a perimeter, and you also have some walls strategically throughout the perimeter, kind of out far in the distance. So that way the place is protected, but you don't feel like you're constantly under danger, hearing turrets all over the place when you're here. So what I'm doing here is basically we'll have employees that work here and live here, as you'll see in a little bit. And so the idea here would be that there would be an employee that would actually work here to have, food and drinks, donuts, whatever the case is, because it's not just for the government officials that are here working, but this place is open to the public. And so anyone who wants to come in and watch basically any part of what's going on can come here. So obviously they're going to, want to have some food and drinks, whatever the case is, while they're waiting or just after a long journey. So, but the idea here is it wouldn't necessarily be, traders or the public. It would be people who actually live and work here.
So here's the big question.
Yeah.
So when it comes to, so you mentioned the Minutemen. So when it comes to the factions, right? At least in Fallout 4 that we see, right? We have the ghouls aren't a faction, but they are a race. So you have the ghouls, you have the Brotherhood of Steel, you have the Railroad, and you also have the Institute. So is this after the main storyline, whether you went with the Minutemen and blew up the Institute, so technically the Institute no longer exists? If that's the case, then how does the Brotherhood fit, and how do ghouls fit in a human settlement?
That's a good point. So the Institute is gone, and the Brotherhood of Steel is also gone. So they've also been destroyed because they came after the railroad. They had to go. So that's just the way that the story ended up working out. So they don't need. So those two don't exist anymore. And in terms of ghouls, yeah, if you're any human or human-like entity, if you're a synth or if you're a ghoul, ghouls are humans. They're just highly radiated humans. So yeah, you have the same rights. The synth thing is complicated. I'm not making like a firm stance on that, but at the end of the day, the decision was to give them, human status because they think they're humans and they're pretty much indistinguishable from humans. And I don't know. I couldn't leave my robot son in the Institute when everything was crashing down because it's like, you think you're real, So that's a hard one that has really big implications. I'm not even saying that that's the right decision, but that's what I went with. All right, so let's check out the insides. So you see when you walk in, Minutemen statue, American flag, Minutemen flag right behind it. So this is the waiting room. Again, for both public officials and just the general public coming in to hang out and to watch. This was one of my favorite areas to make. I don't know. I just love the sunlight coming in here and just the I just really love having the natural lighting up there. So when you come in, you can go one of two ways. You can go right. This is just a very general area here. This is like a press briefing room. So this is where people would come in. This is where like a speaker would come in and debrief anyone who wasn't actually able to watch what happened that day and talk to the camera. And you'll see how that fits in here in a little bit. But they can talk to the camera, and there's a guy with the, all the tech stuff to figure out to make sure that goes out. And you'll notice that they have TVs, even within the game, even within the lore, that have kind of a news guy who's talking. And so we have ways of being able to make that work so that even if you weren't here, you can still get an idea of what's going on. And if you go upstairs, everything's a little bit compact, but this is basically the courthouse. Okay, a little small, but it does the job. So this is where there'll be judges that will decide on any sort of disputes that happens either from citizen to citizen or from citizen to, a public official, whatever the case may be. So, the two of them would sit here and they'll have their lawyers, whatever, sit behind them, and the public can come in and watch. Again, we want everything to be transparent. And, this room here is very open. You can see everything outside, and from the outside, you can see everything on the inside. So, just wanted to make that, as transparent as possible. And then my favorite place, making the walk from the courthouse to the State House. I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I just love the view from here. And just the natural lighting that comes in. You can see so much. And those
You
rats.
can see the wildlife. Look at that.
Right? Oh, one of them's dead. What is that? That's not good symbolism. But anyway, so this is a place where the public can come watch what goes down in here. This is the State House. This is where the representatives and the representatives from the different settlements can come in and talk about making laws and negotiate with each other, because that's kind of one of the biggest differences that we've made here. I'll talk a little bit more about that in just a bit, about how laws are passed, about what the rules actually are. And this is sort of the beginning, right? The Institute was just destroyed not too long ago. So this is, it took like 10 years almost from the Revolutionary War to like the, actually the formation of the government and the first president. So it's going to take some time to put stuff together. But this is where that stuff is going to go down. And another really, high ceilings, a really big place. And so, whoever is talking, if it's the president, if it's, whoever it is that is commanding the floor, they come up here and, talk to all the peoples. This is my guy. Say what's up, Jay. That's him.
I'm supposed to say what's up with Jay?
With, I think, George Washington there in the background. At least I think that's who that's supposed to be. This is where everyone would be. Now, to get more technical about it, you would have basically representatives in the middle and senators on the sides. And the difference is the representatives represent the people and the senators represent the states. Okay, and the way that I basically have it organized is I have groupings of different settlements that are clustered next to each other into states. And as you can see, literally have them kind of circled so that the ones that are grouped next to each other, about 3 to 4 of them, of the closest ones to each other clustered up, will be a state. And so each settlement will have 1 representative, and each state will have 2 senators. And the whole idea is basically that settlements will have, with the representatives, their job is to negotiate with other settlements about trading with each other. Okay? And the idea behind having senators for the state is to have them represent the entire group of settlements so they can negotiate with other states, again, about trading.
So what happened in terms of the West, what is it? It'd probably be not Midwest, I guess the West Coast. What about Nuka World and that whole Raider faction, right? Because you have, as the player character, right, you became the overseer or the boss.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have the 3 factions. You have the Disciples, the Pack, and I think the Operators is what they're called.
I think so, yeah.
So were they? Because I know in my first playthrough, I killed all of them. So are those Raider factions gone?
Yeah, so I killed all the Raiders in Nuka World. And in terms of the one up in Maine, I'm assuming, what's that one called? The other DLC, the other big one?
Automatron or Far
Harbor. So the assumption is that Far Harbor is also part of this. But since I just completed that, I'm still in the negotiation phases with them. Because basically what I do is go to every single settlement and ask them, we're creating a new government. Do you want to be a part of it? And here's the thing. They have the option to say yes or no. Basically what we're offering is to give them protection and to help them trade with local settlements. If they say no, there is no consequences. Now, we can't guarantee that we can give them as much protection or the same trade benefits, but we're not trying to punish them for it. We're trying to say, hey, if you'd like to be involved with this, you can. So one thing I did for, what's this place called? Covenant. Mm-hmm. So they said no. What that actually means is that something got messed up in my save files and I couldn't do the quest with them, so I could never actually unlock the workbench. So I'm taking that as they just said no, right? So they're just not part of it. But that's cool. We're not enemies, but they're their own thing. But that's the whole premise of everything, though, is that everyone gets a chance to say yes or no, and that we try not to have a situation where you're punished for that, where the government is forcing you to do anything. So, for example, there are no taxes. Okay, so there's no situation where the government is requiring you to pay money to the government for anything. What it will be is what the president will do up here is say, hey, we think we should do a new building project. We think we should have more military. We think we should have a government program, whatever the case is. I'm talking to all you representatives and senators. I think I need X amount of money to do this project. Okay? So the representatives and the senators talk amongst themselves and say, what are we willing to give? And if they decide that, yes, they want to go forward with it, they each go back to their own settlements and talk to the people who are in those settlements and say, hey, here's the project the president wants to do. Do you want to donate to this? They can say no, right? So if everyone says yes, then everything is approved. Then we get the money that we need to. People give the money voluntarily. And if they say no, then the project doesn't get approved. So it's on the president and on the government's job to convince the citizens that something is a good idea, not force them into it. So let's say there's 20, 30 settlers in a settlement. They all vote and say, yay or nay. If the majority says, yes, we want to be a part of this, then whoever's able to donate to whatever degree, they'll be able to do that. But in terms of one having more influence than another, because they might be able to pay more than another. Now, remember, the government's not forcing anything on the people, but the people are also, because the structure works in both directions, that if they want something done, they have to go through the whole process. They have to talk to the representative. They have to have that representative talk to the senator. They have to have both of them talk to the president, and a resolution has to be passed. So just because you have more money doesn't change the path that you would have to go through to actually get something done. So the idea there is that if the structure is followed, it doesn't matter if you have 0 caps or billion caps, you have to go through the same process.
But even if you go through the same process, say the president wants to create a mining building along the west coast of the Commonwealth. And the settlements that are closer to the west coast are in favor of that because there's a supply line that is more beneficial to them since they're closer than maybe the east coast. So we'll just say for the sake that the west coast states can afford to fund the project on their own. So obviously it's not the representatives, it is the settlements or the settlers who are agreeing to the project and are willing to pay maybe an excess amount because they realize that, you know, having this supply line would be more beneficial to us. So we're willing to give up more caps than normal to get this project done. So can those one or two or maybe three states be so have such an impact, even though they're the minority of the states that want to be a part of this project?
I think if I'm understanding your question correctly, like hopefully I thought it out enough. So basically what it is that whatever it is that you need, if it's money, resources, materials, food, whatever, it's your job as a settlement or a state to convince the other ones to give that to you.
Okay.
So at the end of the day, if you can convince another state to help, awesome. If you can't, you can go, you know, to the, you know, the state house and try to bring it up there and try to talk to everybody at the same time. But at the end of the day, it's all about convincing. And so if you want to do something, convince your settlement, convince your state, convince other settlements or states to help you out. And if you can do that, you're good to go. And if you can't, then you got to do a better job.
Wanted to.
Potentially, at this point, we have like 25 settlements. And so we're the biggest force to be reckoned with by far in the Commonwealth itself. So our numbers, you know, our military essentially through the Minutemen, our impact that we've had on the Commonwealth through destroying the Institute, which everyone saw as a bad guy. Having the blue flag wave, the Minutemen flag, you know, wave is a source of power, intimidation, and you know, safety at the same time. So I think that gives us plenty of negotiation, and no one's bigger than us, you know, out there, especially with the Brotherhood of Steel gone. So you know, with that being said, you know, we would still trade with so like let's say a Diamond City, for example, but we can't be responsible for protecting them. And that's the thing. Like, we would still try to protect if we can, but we're not responsible for them. So they're kind of on their own a little bit, which is why it's our job to convince them to come with us so we can give them the same level of protection that we can give to everybody else. So again, our idea is not to shun or punish others for not coming, but there has to be an understanding that the resources we have to be given to people who are part of this government as a priority, you know? Yeah, because like most of this settlement isn't like, there isn't really much here. So like building that big place was pretty cool. And, you know, I just kind of did some farming stuff. And, oh yeah, I made that too. So this basically, the idea is that if all these representatives and senators from all over the Commonwealth are coming here to work, they have to stay somewhere while they're here, right? So
Right.
This is where they'll stay. And yeah, this is probably one of the places that I had the most fun making, and another Minutemen statue. And so yeah, when they come in, and this is a place for them to, you know, lay back, relax, also do a little bit more work. So this is the place that they would eat. Again, you would have staff here that would be working, that would be actually, you know, getting the vegetables from the garden, you know, chopping everything up, you know, cooking whatever it is, and, you know, making some food for them to serve, and, you know, allow them to come and sit down in the dining room and actually enjoy that food. You have sort of an area outside for them that's kind of a little bit more tucked away. You'll have an ice machine, a sink, some garbage, a place where they'll be getting shipments of, you know, fish or food or veggies or whatever it is that they need, kind of off here to the side. And so this is kind of the way that they would come in. And plus there'll just be little stuff kind of sitting around during the day too. Like if it's not lunch or dinner time and you still need something to eat, there'll be some stuff laying around that you can grab. A bunch of kitchen supplies for them here as well. A place for them to sit. Coffee machine for coffee in the morning, some water. And for anyone who has some disabilities, we can, you know, help them out there.
Only one chair?
There's not a lot of people who can't walk.
You don't know that.
Well, yeah. Well, if they need more, then I'll get another one.
With all the infections, you kidding me?
That's a good point.
Yeah, you're infected. I mean, you're addicted. It's the same thing.
I guess everyone knows that now. I can't hide it. Some propos, as they call them.
Fun fact: did you go back to the poster? Did you do? I learned this, and I don't know if it's true or not, but interesting fact. Do you know why the Vault Boy sticks his thumb out?
Why?
So apparently, it was a measurement to see safety, like distance, right? So like,
Oh yeah.
so if your thumb covered up the mushroom cloud, you were safe.
No way.
So
Is that what that is?
I don't know if that's accurate or not. I don't even know if that was the case back during those times. But that was a fun.
Can you imagine living in a time where like you have to get taught that stuff, like where
Yeah.
that's even on your mind?
Like, well, just imagine the just the terror that just goes through your body when you stick your thumb up and you can see the cloud. You're like,
You're
okay,
screwed.
all right.
You're dead.
Yeah,
Damn.
you're not getting away from that.
Well, that's what they all went through, and that's what we're trying to prevent again. Trying to prevent that from happening again. Although they got mini nukes everywhere, so what if that same rule applies?
They're what, nuke grenades now? So you can just
Goodness. So yeah, that was interesting. I didn't know that. So what we have is just a bunch of rooms, right? So you come in and basically you'll get a room. There'll be 2 beds per room. You can put your stuff at the bottom. There'll be a little desk for you to do some work at. Some shelves for you to put your whatever stuff that you bring. And this is where people are going to be getting ready, right? So they're going to be clothes to change, ironing, and another room here, and a little bathroom with pretty much everything you need: sink, towels. Come in here for a shower and a toilet.
Where's the handicap toilet?
Man, I'm trying my best here, okay? I can't always be OSHA compliant in the wasteland. So yeah, there's this level. We have 3 levels total. Come up here, we got some more rooms, and again, just places for people to sit and stuff. Just want to make it as comfortable as possible, because these are people who are going to be working basically all day. Like even when they're out of the house, they still have to write up negotiations. They still have to write up speeches and that sort of thing. So like they're never not working. Different kind of room style here. And then if we go upstairs, then you'll see kind of more of like a work area. You see it's still a little bit of a work in progress there. But this is an area where the representatives can still come and work. And so after everything's done, again, they still have a lot of research to do. They still have negotiations. They still have to write things up. Again, they have to convince people, so a lot of work will have to be done. So we'll have workstations, places for them to do what they have to do, kind of a comfortable meeting area where they can, talk with representatives from other states or senators from other states and say like, hey, like you all got some chickens and, we need some of that. And they can, talk to each other and figure out what they need to trade. And obviously they'll be having, bigger negotiations. Obviously they'll be having bigger negotiations than just that, but that'll definitely be part of it. And this is just a really cool like outdoor area where I've seen them where they do this on the roof where they can plant like little gardens up at the top. So this is raised up a little bit so you can have some dirt to plant some grass and some flowers. And a place where you can kind of come on and look out on everything. It's really good timing, really good lighting for this.
Well, why the turret facing the building, bro?
Because sometimes people be going between the buildings. That's the front entrance. Why wouldn't you want something near the front entrance?
I don't know. It's just intimidating, man. Turret's looking right at you.
Okay, I'll take
what
it
if
down.
It turns?
That complaint will be noted. Yeah. So.
Wait, what's that to the left?
This is a telescope. They can telescope stuff.
That was another turret. Like, man.
No, not up here. And of course, gotta have the flag.
It's not a Minuteman flag, though.
No, it's the American flag. Because that's what we're doing. It's not necessarily a new government. It's reinstituting
Rebuilding
the
Minutemen?
United States of America.
Rebuilding Minutemen?
I mean, they're the military, basically. But this is really about America, not necessarily about the Minutemen. The Minutemen are obviously involved, and they're the military. And they're the flag that people are familiar with. So that's an important part. But the whole idea is rebuilding America. So it's not so much rebuilding a new country. It's just America, coming back.
Is there any way you think about using the vaults? Obviously, you can't do vaults and settlements in this game, but in terms of the lore, are vaults just empty?
Yeah, I mean, right now, not a lot of thought's been put into that, but they obviously serve a good place for security, for more protection. We want to use everything we can to help keep the Commonwealth safe. I mean, the whole idea is to turn it into a place where you can have your kids walk from one settlement to another, and you're not really worried about it. That is not what it is right now. But the idea is that that's what it could turn into. But if things were to go down again, vaults can be used for a similar purpose as they were intended to have been used for before, or use it for storage or whatever the case may be. But yeah, I haven't thought about vaults too much yet. I'm not sure if I'm going to do a vault build, and if I do, then I'm sure I'll address the purpose of it, when I do that. So yeah, so what do you think about the builds overall?
I think they're pretty cool.
Yeah, no, I've been working on this thing for like 2 years, and so it's just really cool to get it out, out on the internet and get people to be able to see it. And I don't know if it's good or bad, but it's just like I'm proud of it, just because of just how much time it took and the detail. I hope that went into it, especially I think on the other end, where I try to have like every little component from like where they grow the food, where they take it, how they cook it, where they serve it, where they throw it out, like just having a little bit of everything.
Yeah, I dig it. What about animals? You guys try to domesticate radiated animals?
I got one of them. Where'd you go? There's a cat that usually hangs out right here.
That cat's not radiated.
Yeah, no, it's like
It's a normal cat.
normal looking cat. Where'd he go?
And for whatever reason, dog meat. Is there a backstory to dog meat to why dog meat is not like dead?
Well, it's not. I'm assuming it's not their dog from like 200 years ago.
Well, probably not. But I'm saying, like, how is he not infected, or is he infected? We just don't know.
I don't know. Some dogs are, some dogs are. It's like I Am Legend, right? Some dogs were and some dogs weren't. Just depends on your genes, I guess. I don't know.
No, all dogs eventually got it.
What?
Even Sam.
No.
Sam got infected too.
No, he just went to sleep for a while.
Samantha.
No, that sound was a sound effect. It was just the movie. He didn't die. He's alive, rough, barking around right now.
He got infected, regardless if he's still alive or
I
not.
don't want to talk about it.
But dog meat gets bit all the time. Dog meat's just cool.
Yeah, he's a badass dog.
I want to know the story on that one.
All right. Well, yeah. Well, thanks for checking out these buildings with me. Definitely have some more that would love to have you check out and see what you think. And until then, how can people see the stuff that you're doing?
Yeah, so if you want to follow up with me, see what's going on with me, you can follow me at twitch.tv/Reddicast. Also, you can check out the YouTube channel, youtube.com/Reddicast, spelled REDDICAST. No contents on YouTube right now, but like I said earlier at the beginning of this video, I was doing a 30-day challenge I just recently completed as of yesterday, but we'll continue to stream regularly on Twitch. So that's usually where I'm at. Usually there for about 6 to 7 hours, but definitely come check it out. Give it a follow. I'd love to see you there.
Awesome. Yeah, if you want to see one of the most entertaining playthroughs of Fallout with, I think it started off with a lot of dying, but I think now you're getting more comfortable with it.
Yeah, I got a problem. I don't use VATS very often. So if just as a disclaimer, if you're looking for a very hardcore Fallout player, it's probably not me. I take a very different approach, and I play probably the game wrong. Not very much VATS. I do a lot of weird things where I'm running around in suits, which I've called the Bruno Mars suit with the wig and the glasses, and just try to take on the wasteland in kind of the most funniest ways possible. Mm-hmm. So I definitely have a lot of fun with it. There's a lot I still don't know what I'm doing, but it's definitely been a fun game. Just recently started a survival run, so that's been a blast to run around in wigs and clean tan suits.
It's been really funny to watch that.
It's been quite a journey, but it's definitely a fun game, and we'll definitely be playing it up till Fallout 76 for sure.
Nice. Yeah, definitely check it out for sure, and we'll see you guys next time.
Have a good one.